This 5-day online program is a very important and special program, not only for me, for our institute. The Rajiv Gandhi National Institute of Youth Development was established in 1993 with an objective to impart knowledge and skill among Indian youth to prepare them for nation building. And I strongly believe that children and youth are the community who can bring miracle change in all respect in the society. And it is the responsibility of elderly people, especially parents, teachers, and community leaders to guide them in right direction, as well as inculcate values among children and youth. Our institute is engaged in research training program as well as academic program. We started 6 master degree program in 2008. Since then, we are actively offering master degree programs for youth. But in the recent past, we have thought of to introduce some other job-oriented, socially relevant courses, which we are going to introduce in our institute to open the door for creating more opportunities for youth, which will help them to find meaning of life, as well as to contribute to make India as most prosperous countries in the world, as we are having maximum number of youth in the world. With this few words, I would like to confirm myself in a PPT presentation so that I can share what exactly I thought of sharing with you as the first presentation related to today's program. Now, the title of my presentation is that Child Protection and its Association with Youth Development. I strongly believe youth development is next to impossible until we ensure child protection in the society. If you look at everyday's news, if we go through Facebook, if we view the television channels, every day we come across violence against children in different forms in the society. That is what I strongly feel, that youth development will help us for nation building only when we take up child protection issue very seriously. And as an Institute of Youth Development, we should integrate child protection in our youth development issue, because youth development is a continuous process from childhood. An individual at a young age, they require basic care and facilities support from the family, like nutrition, education, medical care, love and affection, safety. That ensures an individual to grow with a positive mental health and good physical health and develop a better understanding about future. I would like to give you an idea that whom do we call children? An individual up to 18 years of age is called a child as per Juvenile Justice Care and Protection Act 2015. Internationally, that is the standard definition of a child. So the childhood age is overlapping with youth age. And that is why it is very important to integrate child protection with youth development. As I mentioned, that it is very important to provide basic care and support facilities to every child, as well as protect them from all adversities they experience. We have an international yardstick to find out the status of the children in every country. In this regard, the UN Convention on Rights of the Child is a very important document before all the nations, and which says that it is the responsibility of the parents and the guardians to provide basic care and support to every child, as well as ensure their safety. If parents fail to do so, or in absence of parents, it is the obligation of the local government to protect the child from all adversities and provide them education, medical care, as well as safety. That sometimes we fail to provide those basic facilities because of various reasons. Now, India is expected to have 34.33% share of youth. India is going to overtake China in terms of youth population. And that is why the entire global community is looking at India and its strength of human resource. We need to understand this issue and encash this facility to make our country more prosperous and progressive country in all respect. If you look at the children population up to 18 years, India is on the top of the list, followed by China, Nigeria, Indonesia, and USA. That is one of the estimation says that in 2016, this is the figure of children population. Right now, we do not have any latest information after 2016. We are looking for next census data. Then only we can come to know what is the real situation. But without any doubt, India is going to be in the top of the list in terms of maximum number of children population up to 18 years and in terms of youth population in the world. It is a huge strength for the country. On the other hand, I foresee there's a risk involved in it. As we have got a larger number of youth population, if you are able to take care of them, provide them quality education, I'm sure that they will contribute significantly for nation building. On the other hand, if we fail to address the need of 1/4, 1/3, or some percentage of children, they are going to be the burden of the society, which will be a big challenge for the country. And that is why it is very important to invest on child protection, ensuring quality education, admission of every children in all educational institutions, as well as providing them medical care and safety. Now, in every nation has taken a number of protective measures for children. In our country also, Indian Constitution has clearly outlined the measures for child welfare and well-being. Article 23 and 39 guarantee the right to freedom from all forms of exploitation, while Article 23 prohibits trafficking in human beings and forced labor. My intention of my presentation that in the beginning, I would like to give you an overview of the children population, the challenges, opportunities they face. Afterwards, I'm going to discuss about the role of NCC officers in the present situation. Let me come back. The provisions as made in Indian Constitution. Indian Constitution also directs all the states to provide free and compulsory education to all the children up to 14 years of age. We got the Right to Education Act, in other words, Right to Children to Free and Compulsory Education Act in 2009. In addition, there are a number of legislative measures in protecting the children from adversities. One of the very important legal measure is the Immoral Traffic Prevention Act 1956 to prevent children from trafficking, to stop abusing children sexually for commercialized vice. There are a number of provisions. There are a number of penal measures are clearly prescribed in the same law to save the children from child trafficking. There is another very important law, the National Commission for the Protection of Child Rights Act 2005. We are all aware of Nithari's serial killing in UP in 2004 and 5, where a larger number of children are sexually abused and afterwards they are killed and their body were dumped beside the Moninder Singh Pandar in his house. This was a very sensational incident which opened the eyes of all the policymakers that this issue requires an integrated approach to ensure the rights of the children across the society, and followed by the National Commission for the Protection of Child Rights Act 2005 was passed by the Parliament. Sexual abuse of children is rampant, especially the children coming from lower social strata. Children are sexually abused for various reasons, for various myths and misconceptions responsible for it. Especially, there is a notion in rural belt that the elderly people who are suffering from sexually transmitted diseases, transmit their infection to an innocent child. From our research, we learned, driven by the same notion, a large number of elderly people with sexual abuse among children. The right of children to free and compulsory education in 2009. I would urge all the participants to switch off their mobile as well as keep their system in mute mode. So the right of children to free and compulsory education is very important law before us to ensure education to all the children free of cost until 14 years of age. In the same law, 25% seat is reserved for disadvantaged children, underprivileged children. It's a very good initiative by the government of India. But the more important aspect regarding the same law is that monitoring the situation in the ground, whether really 25% seats are given to disadvantaged children as per the same law. I think that issue require a research at the ground level covering the different parts of the country and take a call on that what we should do. Excuse me, sir, will you switch off your mobile? The Juvenile Justice Care and Protection Act 2015 is another very important document which talks about safety for children in need, and the children who are in conflict with law, appropriate measures should be taken in order to bring back them in mainstream of the society. In addition, we have got so many other laws that we are not going to discuss because I have a time constraint. So far as policies and programs are concerned, Tajuddin, I would ask you, this is not the way to speak because it is disturbing all the participants. Integrated Child Protection Scheme is one of the social policy which is well defined for protecting the children interest in the field. In addition, there is another largest program we have in our country, that is Integrated Child Development Scheme, ICDS, which covers the nutritional issue, which ensures preschool education, as well as it gives a support to the adolescent girl as well as their mothers. At a glance, I give you an overview of some of the legislative measures, social policies which we have in our country. For detailed information from website, you can have information easily available. Nowadays, it is much easier. Now, what are the common adversities faced by children and youth or students in our society? From several research, we come out a lot of things. I give you a brief idea what are the challenges they face in educational institution. Corporal punishment is one problem which a larger number of students in our country experience the corporal punishment, and which has a long-lasting impact on mental health, their career growth, their adjustment. We learned it from a number of research. Psychological violence is never recognized in our country as a violence against children. We abuse children to get the thing done by them, and we force them to do something as we desire, and for that we use abusive word which disappear the smiling face of an innocent child. We do not have any law, but internationally using abusive word against child is a criminal offense. In our law, the issue is mentioned that child should not be exploited, child should not be abused, but psychological violence did not get a special mention in any of the law. Academic stress is another adversity faced by a larger number of students. We live in a society where there is a high competition for job, high competition for getting admission to the next level. Every parents want their child should become first or second in the class so that they can get easily admission in the next level. As a result, we are in a competitive mode, and in turn, we give a lot of pressure to our children. And we expect that every child should get a very good score in every examination. Otherwise, they express their unhappiness, and sometimes it crosses the limit, which causes a lot of stress among students. A good number of students are unable to bear the stress given by their parents. That also results in physical punishment, humiliation, giving a warning to the child that I'll throw you out from my house until you are able to show me a good result, good performance. Here, I would like to emphasize that it is very important for every adult people, parents, to understand that every child is not equally potential, equally competent, equally intellectual. There's an individual difference. Even if there are two siblings, both the siblings may not be equally bright in academic pursuit. Another child might be good in vocational trade or in some other aspect. We need to understand their need, their aptitude, their interest. Accordingly, we need to channelize our student. That is what this issue got a special emphasis in our new educational policy 2020. Neglect is another adversity. Now, you might wonder, what is neglect? Not getting 2 meals a day, not getting a safe shelter, not getting education, not getting medical care. These I mention name of few of those acts which are called as neglect. But neglect is associated with Indian socio-economic characteristic. Children from poor families, poor parents are working daily labor They are unable to afford to send their children to school. A larger number of children become a victim of this sort of a situation. It is our collective responsibility to ensure that every child enjoy education, medical care, safety, and basic nutrition, as it is the job of nation as well as the local government. For that, I think the corporate sector should come forward to ensure the basic care and support to all the children. Abuse of children for commercialized vice. A larger number of children are used in our society for different commercial activities, like children working in factories, in weaving industries. Children are used as a drug trafficker. Children are used as carrier of arms ammunition from one place to another place. They do not know what job they are involved in. They are used for the vested interest of somebody. So it is again the collective responsibility of all concerned to ensure that children do not become a victim of this sort of a situation. Sexual abuse is not a phenomenon for the girl child. A larger number of boy child also experience sexual abuse. And this has a tremendous negative impact on mental health throughout the life of a child. It is very important to see that there is no such incident in our society. If any such thing happens in any school, we need to report the same to appropriate authority. Who is the appropriate authority? Immediately, if it happens in educational institution, it should be reported to the school, and school should report immediately to the Child Protection Committee in every state. In every state, every district, there is a Child Protection Committee, and they will do the needful. Because in most of the cases of child sexual abuse, a child is blamed. That definitely something is wrong with him, that is why somebody took the advantage. But we should give the confidence to the child that you are not at all responsible for what has happened with you, and you will get the due justice. And we should also ensure security. That is very important. In most of the incidents where children are gang raped, they kill the child after abusing the child. I think it is very inhuman, as well as we need to see that how we can prevent sexual abuse in the society. So NCC officers has a lot of important role in this regard to create an awareness in educational institutions, which I'll be discussing afterwards. Extreme poverty for a larger number of people. We live in a country where about 1/5 of the people still live below poverty line. If you go to the interior villages, you'll find there is no communication, there is no school, parents are daily wage earner. When there is no work, they suffer from starvation, and children also fall into the same situation. They also suffer from starvation. A good number of people survive on begging. The people, large number of people from some part of country, they go to different places with the small kid, holding the small kid on the roadside, they ask for money. Now you think of what will happen to the future of the same child. I would like to emphasize here that every child is equally potential competent until they have some organic problem. So if they get the minimal care and support, they can be outshining, they can do extremely well, even from as compared to the children coming from well-to-do family. Family violence is another common issue which affects the future of a larger number of child. Family violence in our society go unnoticed because of social stigma, because of so many other reasons. People hardly come out with the same problem. We live in a society where we do not have any social support facility. If you go to any Western country, in every community, there's a community center where there's a psychologist, there's a physical doctors for physical health checkup. There people can go and share their problem, and somebody is their intermediary agency to resolve their problem. Family violence affect the career of a large number of children. The children who witness violence within the family, their parents are fighting, they are unable to concentrate in studies. They are unable to sleep properly. When they come to educational institution, they are shy to interact with other children out of fear. If somebody comes to know that this is the situation of my family, what will happen to my social status? They are unable to respond or remain focused in the classroom and become a victim of corporal punishment for not being able to pay attention. So family violence is a very important issue for which I prescribed at the end of my presentation that a school-based family counseling is required for parents. And school-based family counseling is working extremely well in the US. I'm also attached with one such group. Out of school, if you look at the school dropout rate, I'm sure that you will be shocked. There are different information. We do not have a proper data that how many children become school dropout, how many children had never been to school. That issue require survey research in every community. Sometimes we get some national level data, but that does not give a proper reflection of what is happening in every state, especially Northeast state or the people coming from interior villages. Deprivation from medical care is another adversity which affects a larger number of children. A larger number of children are deprived from immunization because of misconception at the ground level, especially in the rural area. Most shockingly, suicide among students. As per National Crime Record Bureau, every day, 28 students commit suicide in our country. A student who are going to school, they're supposed to commit suicide. They're the future. They should enjoy their study. They should enjoy their childhood in interaction with other children. So it's a big question mark before us that why some children prefer to commit suicide. It is nothing but because of too much oppression. It is because of non-acceptance by the larger society. It is because of lack of a platform to share their internal problems, sufferings, agonies. That issue require attention of educational institution. Fortunately, I would say that in our new educational policy 2020, the mental health issue of the student has given priority. But it is very important to translate the policy into action in creating a mental health support facility by a trained psychologist, which is missing. Sometimes we very loosely use the word called mental health support will be provided, but who is the right person to provide the mental health support? It is not that anybody or everybody. A person should be sensitive, a person should have a patience, a person is able to deliver or understand the psyche of a child, and some educational background one should have. So I strongly feel, as per our new educational policy 2020, government should come out with a policy to create a post of psychologists in every educational institution. And there should be more educational institutions. They should train a person with a psychology master degree background how to deal with students' issues and challenges sensitively in the context of a culture. And if I look at the suicide rate of the last 3 years, 2016, 17, 18, we find that the suicide rate among students is increasing every year. So it's an issue of concern for all of us, and for which I'm sure that NCC officers can play a very proactive role to create a child-friendly environment, giving them a platform to often come forward and share their issues and challenges. If it is within the family-based counseling should address this issue. If it is within the institutional authorities to be sensitized. If it is because of some other reasons, peer relationship, there should be a platform to resolve those issues. We'll miss those youth afterwards, and they will be deviating from mainstream of the society. As a researcher, I don't believe in based on one or two observations. We believe in generating systematic evidence. In one research carried out in Puducherry 2017, which indicates that 62% of the school students reported experiencing corporal punishment in the past 1 year. That article was published in School Psychology International. It's an impact journal. When we do a quality research following systematic approach, our article is accepted and published in a good document. That becomes a document for the policymaker to give a thought on the issue. So if 62% children reported experiencing corporal punishment, one can very well understand that it will have an adverse effect on mental health of the children. And then when these children will go, they will have a different perspective about life. And perhaps during their youth age, they may not be able to contribute significantly, or they may not focus in their study because of their mental health disturbances. It might be because of traumatic experience. And further, we learn from the same research, youth who reported corporal punishment were found to be suffering from depression and anxiety. A child with depression and anxiety won't be able to focus in their study sincerely, and their result will be affected. So we'll be losing a potential of any youth because of the childhood adversities they experienced. This is one evidence I share. Another evidence I would like to share that academic stress is another area which affect a larger number of adolescents and children in our country because of high academic competition, because of high expectation from the teachers as well as parents, and because of so many other factors. And nearly 2/3 of the higher secondary students reported stress due to academic pressure. I've been working in the same field because every year after publication of secondary and higher secondary result, a good number of students, they attempt to disappear. and they run away from their home out of a fear that my result may not be up to the level of satisfaction of my parents, and in turn I will become a victim of, I would say that, corporal punishment, humiliation. And some parents, sometimes what they do, they refer the performance of the children, or they compare the child performance with the other children. So we need to remember that two children are not equal or similar in any aspect. So we should not compare one child performance with another child. So this is a very important issue for each one of us when we deal with our children issues and concerns. Then 81.6% reported examination-related anxiety. In this regard, it is very important to look at that why students suffer from examination stress. There are a number of factors involved in it. If we look at the curricula of CBSE, ICSE, state boards, there's a huge variation. In some part of the country, school board curricula is very simple, while in central curricula, it is totally different. And if you look at that, when the curricula was revised last time, you will find that it was revised 15, 20 years back. So there's a need to revise our curricula, keeping the social context and relevance of the curricula into account. However, this issue is taken care of by New Educational Policy 2020. So examination stress was positively correlated with parental pressure and psychiatric symptom. Even some of the students developed a psychiatric symptom. A child, because of academic pressure, who experienced serious pressure and developed psychiatric symptom, definitely cannot perform well when they attain youth phase. That is why I find there's a positive association of childhood protection and youth development. I would like to share another study findings: anxiety among high school students and reasons thereof. Anxiety is another phenomenon which is affecting children population. Earlier, depression, anxiety were the mental health problem which was more prevalent among elderly people. Nowadays, there is a paradigm shift of depression, anxiety. Children become the most victim of depression, anxiety. This study was about 8 years or 10 years back. That study gives us a clear evidence that a larger number of students suffer from anxiety. This study disclosed that 20.1% boys and 17.9% girls were suffering from high anxiety. The students who suffer from high anxiety, they require immediately psychological intervention to get relief from anxiety. But in our present system, we do not have any mental health support system in any educational institution. That is the fallacy of understanding the child upbringing. Every child is vulnerable to any physical health problem at any point of time in their life. Similarly, every individual is equally vulnerable to mental health challenges. As we have a provision for primary health care facility, we have a facility for physical health checkup, we should have a provision for mental health checkup for every individual. Otherwise, that person will grow with the same mental health problem and will be unable to lead a quality of life. The person who is not mentally sound is not leading a quality life. They cannot contribute to the society for social development. They cannot play a meaningful role. And that is why I strongly feel mental health support services in a meaningful manner by the trained professional in every educational institution is must, which is uttered in national new educational policy as well as draft National Youth Policy 2020. In both the policy, the mental health issue got a special emphasis, and that requires proper planning and program to engage mental health professional proportionate to students. Some of the private schools, they officially engage a student with psychology background who does not have proper training on student counseling, who do not have a proper background how to deal with different issues and challenges. And they engage a psychologist just for business promotion, for getting more students, not with an intention to offer proper mental health support facilities to the student. So I would appeal to all academic administrators to focus on this issue for optimal utilization of resources of the children and youth. Education from Bengali medium schools and belonging to middle class families were more anxious as compared to the counterparts from English medium schools and a lower income group. So the medium of instruction is very important while somebody comes to education institution. At an early age, one can study local language. But when somebody goes for higher education, one should be very thorough with English communication so that they can study the literature and they can understand it, make best use of the available literature. As we do not have literature in all the subject in local language, we have to depend on English. So that is why it is very important to give proper emphasis on the lower level to study any curricula, any subject in English. And if somebody is good in communication skill, they can outshine, they can perform better at any level. And that issue requires a proper attention. Even I strongly feel if you do not teach half of the history or geography, it will not affect the career of a child. But a child should be very good in English and as well as mathematics. That will make a child independent, and you can lead an independent life without looking for a job. Now, impact of child abuse on mental health. A larger number of children and students in our society experience child abuse in different form. It could be physical abuse, as I mentioned, corporal punishment. It could be psychological abuse. It could be sexual abuse. It could be neglect. It could be abuse for commercialized vice. So from our research, we learned that it has a tremendous negative impact on mental health. There is another article published in School Psychology International Journal, Impact of Psychological, Physical, Psychological, Sexual Violence on Social Adjustment of School Children. Findings reveal that 21.9%, 20.9%, and 80% students experienced physical, psychological, sexual violence at home. About one-third had witnessed family violence. The social adjustment scores of school children who experienced violence, regardless of the nature of the violence, was significantly lower as compared to their counterparts. As I mentioned before, the children who experience abuse, it affects their social adjustment. They become shaky. They do not go and mix up with other children out of a fear that others might make a fun of their family situation. So they want to withdraw. But withdrawing from the social interaction is not a good sign for leading a healthy life. That we need to understand. And excuse me, just 1 second. There's a little problem in the PPT. How to remove this one? By mistake, I did it. And you can move to the next. Please bear with me for a second. Yeah, okay. Thank you. There's a technical problem. Okay, now this is another very important study which we published in Asian Journal of Psychiatry. The journal has got more than 2 impact factors. This article talks about the depression among Indian university students and its association with perceived university academic environment, living arrangements, and personal issues. There is no study in our country, systematic study on university students to understand their mental health. So this study was conducted covering university students of Pondicherry University. About 37.7, 13, as well as 2.4% of the university students are suffering from moderate, severe, extremely severe depression. That issue requires immediate attention of academic administrator so that they do not develop a suicidal ideation and commit suicide. Sometime back, I shared that 28 students every day commit suicide in our country. Last year, I delivered a lecture in Oxford University when I shared that in our country, 25 to 26 students commit suicide every day. They were shocked. They said in our country, about 79 students committed suicide in a year, and that became a national news, and everybody started discussing and participating in debate and discussion to find out a solution. But in our country, about 28 students commit suicide as per Crime in India report, but exact data might be little more than that. That issue requires student mental health support services in the education institution. So far as the academic stream is concerned, students from social science humanities reported experiencing more depression as compared to science and management students. The study further disclosed the students with positive views about the university academic environment and living arrangements had lower levels of depression. These findings is very important to an academic administrator to take an appropriate policy. We developed a conceptual model to address this issue. Because sometime back in Hyderabad University, students committed suicide. Even students from IIT or medical college also commit suicide. The fundamental question arises, why the students who are from medical college or IIT commit suicide? It is because of internal stress. Some students who are doing extremely well in all the examination all of a sudden, if sometimes they see that in one semester there's a drop of their performance, they are unable to take up this poor performance. They feel like to commit suicide. That issue requires immediate attention of academic administrator. The family environment for child upbringing, youth development, career guidance of youth is very important. Excuse me, one of the participants, will you please mute your microphone system? Excuse me. Okay, so home environment, parenting style, discipline method are very important in child upbringing for youth development also. So one study discloses parental.
Sir, excuse me, sir. Participants, please put your microphones on mute mode, please. We are trying to unmute everybody, but still there are people putting your microphones on mode. Please kindly mute it. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
So another study disclosed that parental care was associated with high self-confidence, while parental pressure associated with high anxiety. So we parents understand with our children and giving them more quality time in order to clarify their issues and concerns related to study. At the same time, disturbed families contributed to adolescent anxiety, inability to share personal problems, parental interferences in personal affairs, and academic pressure. So this article, a research-based evidence, gives us a clear idea that healthy home environment, good parental relationship are found to be facilitating factor for child growth, youth, positive outlook development. So we need to look at this issue, even in some family where there is a difference of opinion, and that parents should resolve their issue within themselves. But in front of children, sometimes we express our unhappiness of relationship. I think this should be avoided for betterment of the child growth and development. Now, determinant factors for positive and sustainable mental health of students. There are a number of factors which contribute significantly for healthy career development, mental health development of children. Family background, as I mentioned, family environment, culture, and values of a family are very important for positive and sustainable mental health of students. Role of parents, parents' educational background and occupation, parents' outlook about life, parenting styles, listening to children's voices, student voices. We live in a society where we feel we have a notion that children do not understand anything. We are not supposed to discuss anything about the career growth and development. This is absolutely myth. We need to listen to them. We need to understand. Even if there is a disagreement, first we need to accept their views and opinion, and we should share our views and opinion without giving a condition that what I said we have to follow the same. But a parent should give different options about the career growth and development, and automatically a student or child will be able to take the right decision, and we need to act as a facilitator, not impose our ideas. Parents' lifestyle is very important. The parents who are dependent on alcohol and substances, definitely it will affect the outlook of a child. Parents should give the quality to their children. Interparental relationship also very important for a good mental health development of every child. In addition to parents, educational institutions play a very important role. Disciplining method of students and supportive and safe environment. Some teachers are very strict. They use cane and bamboo. And sometimes, perhaps some teachers, because of their own deficiency, they try to create a fear in the mind of the student when they take a class, so the student do not ask any question. I think a person who does not have a passion for teaching, the person who do not have an updated knowledge, they should change their mindset. They should go to class with a proper preparation so that they can create a conducive environment for better learning. Culture of an education institution, an exchange program. An education institution culture makes a difference. If the education institution follow the proper timetable, classes are conducted on time, teachers are particular, head of the institution is vigilant about academic activities, I think that will also encourage all the teachers to be very disciplined and punctual. Performance of an educational institution is also very important. If a group of students are performing well, that will perform, that will encourage the next batch of students to perform well. And it is possible if the teachers are very particular, they guide the student properly, they make themselves available after the class hour. And time-specific updated curricula in our country, we need to follow the standard curricula. So it is the job of the respective educational board to revise their curricula, and that requires attention from all people in true sense. Sometimes we design a curricula without giving much emphasis on certain issues, and we put name of some scholarly people who hardly contribute and think of the same issue. That should be avoided. Serious exercise is required to revise the curricula, and there is no need to put a huge curricula which a child is not able to digest and perform well. Student mentorship is another concept. In some educational institution, it works well. So NCC officer also can play the role of a mentorship for youth when they come for NCC training. Student mental health support facilities enhancing resilience capacity. Every individual has a different coping style. The resilience capacity is sometimes may not be optimal, but it is possible to enhance the resilience capacity of the students through different workshops as well as a short-term training program. And resilience will help an individual to cope with any adverse situation. Designing flexible timetable. In case of developing the timetable, the way timetable is developed in every education institution, it is very much stressful. There is no need to conduct so many classes in a day from morning to evening, which an individual cannot remain seated continuously for a longer time. And sometimes the teachers are also in competitive mode to finish the syllabus. So once one teacher leaves the classroom, immediately another teacher enters into the classroom, giving minimum break for children to visit the washroom or for little stretching. I think that way it is not motivating for the student. Now, NCC officers, when you are working in different institution, you can play the role of a facilitator. If that is the situation, you can try to have a discussion with the academic administrator, or with the help of academics, you can have a discussion with the psychologist. If there is a psychologist or other teachers, that there is a need to give a break between two sessions. Giving emphasis on experiential learning. A student should learn from the hands-on training, and that becomes more interesting, and that learning is long-lasting and it is beneficial. Now, every educational institution, especially college and university, should have a placement cell. Placement cell is very motivating. Career guidance and counseling facilities should be there in every educational institution. And I'm sure that new educational policy will emphasize on the same issue as it is mentioned, and in reality it will be reflected. Periodic quality, meaningful parent-teacher meeting is very essential. In most of the institutions, you'll find parent-teachers meetings are conducted just to give the report card to the parents. Hardly a teacher finds a time to give a proper feedback about their child. And one more important thing for a teacher or as an NCC officer, encourage the student, appreciate their small positive things. Only appreciation, encouragement can bring a miracle change even in a student who was not performing well. Give them the knowledge or understanding that you are capable of doing good things, you are capable of performing well. You could be a very good leader, you can perform very well academically also. Only positive word can bring a change, not harsh punishment or strong disciplinary measure. Value education is very essential. Sometimes educational institution should invite a very motivational speaker who will share the lifelong experience which might be motivating. Like APJ Abdul Kalam was a very good motivational speaker for the student. So there are so many other people in the society who might be invited in education institution periodically to motivate the student in right direction. Students should have grievances cell in every educational institution, because in some number of students, sometimes ragging is there and the students do not have any platform to go and report. There should be a platform where they can go and report if they face any challenges within the institution or in the hand of peer group member, bullying behavior, or in the family. Provision of extracurricular activities, including games and sport, is also necessary because educational institution objective is holistic growth and development of a child. In some school, there are certain periods are allocated for extracurricular activities, but not all the school. That issue also requires very important. Educational background and experience of teacher is very important. If we look at what the people become the school teacher in our country, a larger number of them are with a good educational background, but a good number of them do not have a proper educational background, and they do not have a passion for teaching. Since they did not get any job, they came in teaching profession. As a result, they neither find interest in teaching nor they are updated in terms of knowledge, which becomes demotivating for the student. I came across the mathematics teacher who does not know the mathematics, who get the problem solved and take the photo of the same solved problem in the classroom, write it there in the blackboard. When students ask for any clarification, the teacher create a very fearful environment. You are asking question, you remain seated, don't ask, otherwise I'll give you a low score. So we need to look into this issue. Even when you recruit a contractual teacher in school, we need to be very careful that person should have a proper background, should have a proper communication skill. And school environment should be non-threatening. It should be enjoyable for every child. A school, normally in our country, it is more fearful, not every place where they will enjoy. You will see when the child sits in the classroom, their facial expression, when you allow the child to play in the open ground, there's a drastic change. So we need to strike a balance between academic lesson as well as extracurricular activities. More emphasis for teacher is very essential on communication skill. Some teacher might be very knowledgeable, but they are unable to express, communicate, and clear the subject to student. Punctuality, going to school or class on time makes a big difference. Especially in rural area, teachers hardly visit the school. They go very occasionally, and that is demotivating. As a result, some students do not feel like to attend the school. Non-judgmental attitude of the teacher, gender sensitivity, accessibility to teacher out of the classroom, understanding individual differences, other issues, a teacher should take care of this. There are so many other issues, that method of teaching, that how I'm going to teach, it's very important. Presenting the subject matter, giving right examples, bringing the level of teaching to the level of the student, updated knowledge of the teacher, reaching to all the student in the classroom, dress code of a teacher, professional integrity of a teacher are very important. I just give an overview of the role of a parents and teacher. Now there is another third part in the institution, like NCC officers, who can play a very important role in bringing a very good environment and culture in the education institution in discussion with the administrator of an educational institution. And I would like to emphasize on that there is a need to create a post of a psychologist in every educational institution for addressing the mental health issue, which has been emphasized in new educational policy as well as the National Youth Development Index. Need assessment of student for a development disorder and also providing intervention in order to address the problem is very essential. Normally in our school, never the learning disability issue got attention from any teacher because we do not have a basic knowledge. It is very important to orient the teacher to identify the common childhood disorder to help them to overcome the same crisis so that they can grow with their full potential. And that is what I strongly feel providing school-based family counseling or mental health support facilities to parents who are facing challenges is very essential. I think that should be taken very seriously. Now, when you talk of a school environment, it is very important to enhance the resilience capacity of a student, creating a support facilities. So every student should enjoy support facility in different aspects from the teachers, from the school, from other authorities of the school, and with proper partnership with the parents. Now, common psychological social problem faced by the adolescents include, as I mentioned earlier, if I make a list, it includes that stress, anxiety, depression, addiction, unemployment, social and family pressure, identity crisis. Now, these are very common in our society. Sexual abuse and reporting is very low, and that is why the people who commit the crime, they do not come under the purview of the law and order situation. Your development is not possible, as I mentioned before, without child protection, as any adverse incident will have long-lasting negative impact on mental health, physical health, social adjustment, career growth of a child. That issue requires attention of all policymakers. This is one conceptual model which I presented in Indian Science Congress, where I tried to show that what are the basic amenities to be provided to the children. We call it input. Then it ensures the child protection. If the child is protected, we can expect a skilled and resourceful manpower. which will lead to better economic growth of a nation, which will ensure the reduced burden of mental health. Reduced burden of mental health will also enhance will reduce the crime rate in the society. And finally, health, peaceful and prosperous society will experience, which will ensure higher quality of life, less health expenses, and better span of life. Now, what the NCC officers can do in the present situation, which I discussed right now, NCC officers can play the role of a facilitator to closely work with academic administrator of an institute, teachers, counselor, and create a child-friendly, safe atmosphere in the institute. In addition, establishing good rapport with the students during NCC training and preparing them for facing any challenges in life, so they can become a facilitator to enhance the resilience capacity of the children, giving a lot of examples. That issue requires another special orientation, how to enhance the resilience. In our 5-day program, we have a special session on the same issue, how to promote positive mental health among students, how to enhance the resilience capacity. Encouraging students to remain engaged in studies and extracurricular activities, discouraging them not to spend more time in virtual world through mobiles or internet. That has become another challenge, as internet and mobile is very helpful for us to remain connected to get information. That also making people more dependent on some other issues which gives them immediate pleasure. As a result, students are unable to pay undivided attention in their studies. That becomes, we call it, dependence on virtual world on certain side. So that requires a reinforcement of information when the student come for NCC training. Discussing about negative impact of substance dependence and other risk behavior. In Northeast state, I did extensive research. I also evaluated drug abuse and prevention program funded by the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment. I traveled extensively all the Northeast states because substance dependence among youth, children is a very common phenomena, and that requires reinforcement during the NCC, that how not only for the students who are coming from NCC, to give them the proper perspective of negative impact of substance dependence, they can also act as a peer group educator to share the same message with other students, that not to become dependent on alcohol or substances and not to indulge in any risk behavior, as in some state, Manipur is having maximum number of people with HIV and AIDS. So that issue also requires attention from the NCC officers who are posted in Manipur and some other places in Northeast. Giving students a feel about the role and contribution in family, society, and utilizing time efficiently and effectively, it is very important. It is very important to empower the youth with their rights and responsibilities. We need to also share that what are the fundamental rights they are supposed to enjoy. At the same time, they need to be reminded their responsibility in the society, in the family, in case of the peer group members. So rights and responsibilities should go hand in hand. In some places, we only provide them information, their rights. We do not sensitize them on the responsibilities. If you go to Singapore, every student after class 10, they need to spend 1 year time or 2 year time in defense. After spending 2 years time, when they come and join the education again, they become a very responsible citizen because they are aware, sensitized about the rules and regulations, their duties, their jobs, their rights, and they're well trained. And that is why you won't find much crime in Singapore. Almost it is near to zero crime committed by children or youth or students. Some students, sometimes because of organicity, they indulge themselves in criminal activities. Giving more emphasis on character building, social values like respecting women, elderly people, others. Engaging in physical exercise. Fit India program is a very important and flagship program of our Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports. We'll have a special session on Fit India program and what is the objective and how this program we need to promote among all sections of youth and all sections of the society. That will help us to reduce our health burden. If somebody does some exercise, whole life they'll enjoy a good health, and good physical health will translate into good mental health, and in turn the outcome of an individual will be extraordinarily good. Formation of good habit. Good food habit also is very important. Obesity in one hand is urban phenomena, in rural area malnutrition. That issue also should be sensitized. Healthy lifestyle has a tremendous value in our life. If somebody gets up early in the morning, they will get a lot of time to prepare themselves for study, attending educational institution, doing some work within their family, also contributing time for benefit of others. Spirituality is very important nowadays. Now, spirituality and religiosity and religious aspects are totally different. To me, the simple terminology spirituality is leading a very honest, decent life which will help an individual to remain psychologically calm and quiet. And one will think positively for self, for others. One will never indulge in negative activities. So spirituality has a different meaning. But I find that the concept of spirituality in simple terms could be explained to the student. A student should be very happy with the bare minimum necessities during student life. They should not be given too much of materialistic item. Sometimes materialistic item by the parents, because of over affection, mislead the student. They get involved in risk behavior, which I learned from a series of research. Becoming more tolerant, it is very important. And youth should be more tolerant. We should accept another individual, understand another individual, adjust with the situation, and behave in a responsible manner. Maintaining cordial relations with everybody, not only with family members, siblings, friends, teachers, and others, respecting others. The relationship of an individual help an individual to reach the higher level of the career. If somebody is very good, very nice in terms of their behavior, in terms of their gesture, they follow the rules and regulations, they follow all the systems, automatically they enjoy a better relationship with others. And people also hold a good impression, and that facilitate for their career growth. And becoming humble should be the basic nature for any youth. Providing support to others and other do's and don'ts of the society. So NCC officers can inculcate all those values among them when they come for this. I would like to share one book, because sometimes attending this program as it is beneficial. At the same time, we should have a theoretical concept and knowledge about children and adolescent growth and development. Keeping this issue in our mind, we wrote one book published by Pearson, an international publisher, on childhood to adolescent. This book covered all dimensions of adolescent and youth growth and development. They include understanding child growth and development, socialization process, adverse childhood experiences and child protection measures, barriers for child growth and studying human development, understanding adolescent in India, the role of the family, parenting style, parenting behaviors, adolescent knowledge, perception and practice about various health-related issues, academic burden and impact, adolescent mental health, violence against adolescents and youth, dependence of adolescent on the internet, social networking site, risk behavior, adolescent marriage and trafficking, policies and program. The book does not cost much. It is within 400 something. It is about 500 pages book. If you buy a book, this will not only be helpful for you, your child and next generation will also benefit for the same book. I highly recommend to buy this book, because Pearson publish a book, and they do not quote a high price. They quote a price which is affordable by anybody. It's worth buying the same book for available information at your disposal, so that when you go for NCC, you wish to deal with the youth, you have a proper understanding and knowledge which are available in the same book based on evidence. In addition, I would like to share some of my other books related to the children in youth development, which will give an overview of this aspect. These books published by Springer, it is very expensive, all the books. I will not recommend that you can buy it. One book's price cost, the child safety cost is about 10,000 rupees, positive student and child development book cost about 9,000 rupees. So these are very expensive books, but if your system from office, you can buy it, but individual is very difficult to afford. But all these books got a very good international market to understand the children and issues development from their perspective. These are two more books on community psychology and social psychology in everyday life published by Sage. In both the books, we have a number of chapters on children in youth development. Price is also very reasonable, 400 to 500 rupees. Very good book, and Sage is one of the premier international publication company. So you'll get a lot of information, a lot of theoretical aspect, and you will have a better understanding about child and adolescent growth. These are two very interesting books looking at the challenges faced by the children, youth, and adolescent. We came out with two other books. One is Upholding Justice, Social, Psychological, Legal Perspective. Another is Delivering Justice. I share this information because this is the platform to share with each one of you about the child adolescent growth and development and its association with youth development. Whoever is interested, you can go ahead for purchasing this book. And on the other hand, if you think that your system will allow, you can think of. So with this few words, I stop here for your patience hearing, and I strongly believe that the way we designed the entire 5-day program, selecting the appropriate resource person based on their past academic research background, I'm sure you will enjoy each and every session, and it will be very much enlightening for each one of you. So now I stop here with a note that if you have any queries, any question, any issue, you can ask me. I also ensure you that after the program, all the PPT which we are going to share, it will be available in our website. You can download the same program for further information. So thank you everybody for your kind attention. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for your informative session. Now it's time for interaction with the resource person. Participants may kindly clarify your questions. You can use the chat box. You can type the questions on the chat box, or if you wish, you can unmute your microphone and you can speak.
नमस्कार सर। सर जो मांग कर जीवन यापन करते हैं उनके लिए कुछ कहिए सर। उनके जो बच्चे रहते हैं चक्री क्रम में डलते जा रहे हैं, और ये भी जो छिपा हुआ सर मतलब एक टैलेंट है जो भारत के समक्ष नहीं आ रहा है सर, इनके बारे में कुछ बताएं सर।
Will you repeat your question again, if you do not mind?
नमस्कार सर, ये जो मांग कर जीवन यापन करते हैं जिससे कि इनके जो बच्चे रहते हैं वो भी इनमें कोई सशक्तता नहीं होती है सर, और ये भी इस मतलब भीख मांगने को विचार विमर्श हो जाते हैं, तो ये भी सर बच्चे हैं, इनके बारे में भी कुछ बताइए सर, इनका इम्प्लीमेंट कैसे करा जाए।
Yes. This is also an issue. Is very disturbing for me because I work with disadvantaged children issue also, and I strongly feel they are equally capable, competent like other children. Now, for which we have a number of schemes by Ministry of Women and Child Development. Now we need to act as a facilitators. We means the NGOs who are working with the disadvantaged children. I think there is a need to sensitize their parents that begging on the roadside, holding your child without giving the proper nutrition or putting them in the school is not the future for your child. You need to put your child under some umbrella where they will get a shelter. There are a number of organizations that are engaged in institutional care and support services for disadvantaged children. So this issue requires sensitization of those parents to take their children under the purview of intervention program. But we need to have a directory of those organizations. Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment has the list of those organizations state-wise. So we, being an NCC officer, we also find it out from the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment website, what are the NGOs who are getting fund to run a shelter home for disadvantaged children. So whatever disadvantaged children home we have in our state, we need to develop a liaison with them. We need to sensitize them. Why don't you come forward to sensitize those parents so that they hand over their child to your institution for their healthy growth and development? It normally does not happen. We are mostly, I would say, that self-centric. Some of the NGOs are very committed, they come forward. I give an example of, there is another NGO called HelpAge India. They are active in some places, but I did not see much of their presence in different programs in helping aged people who are living on the street. We hardly pay attention to those disadvantaged population. I have seen the sufferings. It requires a sensitization on the part of all the people who are engaged in giving shelter to disadvantaged population. So it requires, as an NCC officer, if you are posted in, for example, in Tripura, Mizoram, Manipur, from the social welfare department, you will get a list of the NGOs who are getting fund from the state government, as well as who are getting fund from the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment. And you can sensitize them, develop a network to bring all those children under intervention program. Could I answer your query?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions, please?
Afternoon, sir. Kanu Barman, I am from NL Independent Sunny School Company from Nagaland.
Yes, please tell me.
Sir, Sainik School generally our classes from class 6 to class 12.
Yeah.
And when they are new students at getting admission in class 6, class 7, class 8, till 8, or you can say till 9, their behavior is okay. But after class 10, some it has been observed that sometimes they are little aggressive. As individual, they're fine, but there is a tendency of mob mentality. And nowadays, this is a big problem for the residential school. They are bringing sometime mobile, and maximum time when they are staying in the hostel. So when there is no teacher, they are wasting their maximum time at night in the mobile.
Yeah.
And next day, they are unable to concentrate in the class, sleeping, and this kind of problem we are facing, sir.
Yes, sir. I think I addressed already this issue that dependence, internet dependence, mobile dependence has become a very serious challenge for us, and especially for the students who live in the hostel. There is a solution for it. That school should come out with a circular that only very ordinary mobile phone, which one can only make a call, no screen, no other facility. And that mobile, the school should keep in their custody only twice a week. Then student may be allowed during a particular time to contact their family members. I tell you, in some school in Tamil Nadu, residential school, in order to stop abusing mobile, they asked all the parents to buy the very simple handset, which cost about 800,000 rupees. A very small handset. From there they can make a call twice a week, particularly during a particular time from 9 to 9:30 after study hour. And then this other time, this mobile will remain within the custody of the hostel warden. It will not be given to anybody. So this strategy will serve both the purposes, that parents can contact their child twice a week, children also can remain to the parents. At the same time, other time that they will not have access to the mobile. And during that particular half an hour time, only they can make a call and they can receive a call. That's it. So we need to also come out with the appropriate strategy in the given situation. Otherwise, if you do not restrict that this is the only mobile is allowed, every parents, because of their children demand and expectation that I'll go to school only if you give me a iPhone or something like this, that cannot be permitted. Simple instruction, mainly ordinary handset form where one can make a call, one can receive it, only that facility, that much. So that way, I think the situation could be addressed. And some school, they are able to manage it. And some students, when they come in the hostel, in the beginning, they will be a little emotional, and parents should be allowed once a week to meet their child during a particular time. So that way, we can think of adopting a strategy, following a middle path, so that we can run the show. But giving a mobile, very costly, expensive mobile, means indulging the children not to sleep whole night. And nowadays, because of adolescent phase, they will become more curious about so many issues. So better not to give them exposure. The child will be exposed to this sort of a thing. They cannot sleep whole night. Next day, they cannot come to class with a preparation. They will be in sleeping mode. It will have spoil their whole career. So it is the collective responsibility of both parents, school authority, hostel warden, to regulate the student following a different strategy. So it is within us. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the participants, please?
Yes, I have a question.
Please.
Sir, you said that the NGOs are working for this kids, children, begging with them.
Ma'am, can you be a little louder, please?
So my question is, I have two questions. First, so is there any program or any session that has been introduced by institution to carry out some activities as a permanent or part of their curriculum, take classes or give education, some education facilities to these kids begging on the street with their parents? And if it is there, then okay. If it is not, then can there be such introduction of such program under their regular institutionalized curriculum? and so that can help them to fulfill the criteria of tradition under new education policy 2020. Sir.
Yeah. It all depends on the head of the institution. If the head of the institution with a positive mindset, dynamic, think differently, all student related issues could be accommodated within the institution. But it requires also a team of teachers or faculty in an education institution. Within the faculty, if, for example, if in any educational institution there are 20, 30 faculty, some additional responsibility can be given to some of the teachers who are interested to take additional responsibility. We live in a society where there are so many people, they are so keen to take additional responsibility to help the children and students, isn't it? So one can think of designing an appropriate program based on a need and can run the show. Now, I give another example. Now, we live in a society, we call it a resource constrained society, where the same infrastructure could be used for multiple purposes. Normally, in educational institution, it starts from 10 to 5. We can morning hour, we can have some program based on need of the student. So we can utilize the same time for different program based on need of the student. Or after the normal school or college hours, after 4 or 5, we can think of running the other programs in the evening hour, giving additional responsibility to some particular teacher. And that is a way we can find out solution for various emerging issues for benefit of the student. But Government of India, Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, Ministry of Education, and the new educational policy, I'm sure they will come out with a lot of other new programs for holistic growth of children, following multidisciplinary approach. Now, the total the approach of education is totally different as per new educational policy 2020. I'm sure there will be a lot of other emphasis to be given on vocational training, skill-based training program through normal school hours. And there are a lot of flexibility. Then one can continue education at college for 1 year, then they will get a certificate. One can continue for 2 years or 3 years, they will get a not certificate, they will get a degree. Something, a lot of flexibilities are given, keeping the diverse background, interest of the student and need of the student of our society. I'm sure that within next 1 year to 2 years, we'll see a lot of changes which are student friendly, need based. So we can hope a better situation. Thank you, ma'am.
Sir, there are a few other questions on the chat box.
Yeah. 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 So school dropouts very often. Yeah, that is another very important question. School dropout children, they get involved in criminal activities. I fully agree with you. A child requires an engagement in involvement. And here lies the role of a school teacher, school administrator to develop a relationship with the family. Be in touch with the parents of those children who become school dropout. Act as a facilitator to bring back the child to school. In that case, we can develop a partnership with other local organization. It might be NGO, it might be another organization, because in our society, there are a lot of people personally after retirement, they want to give time to different educational institutions for meaningful engagement. If we can engage the availability of some of the retired person in and around of our school and involve them in some activities of the school, I'm sure they could be used for thinking of all those school dropout children who could be engaged or brought back to the school to continue their education. Otherwise, automatically, an ideal brain is a devil's workshop. And under the influence of peer group, they might engage in criminal activities. And we, the people from larger society, take the advantages of a helpless condition of a child. So it is very important to bring back those children in the school or engage them in some vocational training. There is another question by some of you, as mentioned, there is a need for a trained psychologist in every educational institution. Can there be recommendation to the UGC for the sanction of such a post, especially for colleges? I fully agree. every education institution should have a trained mental health professionals, every education institution. I strongly feel that there should be a policy in the line of new educational policy 2020 for creating a post for every educational institution. It is not only for college, it requires for primary school also. Because at the primary school, if you are able to detect the common childhood disorder like mental retardation, autism, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, learning disability, with an input you can improve the condition of a child. Then child can lead a reasonably better life, for which we need a trained psychologist to train primary school teacher to identify those signs and symptoms related to different common childhood disorder. That orientation is very much essential. Keeping that thing in mind, we propose to open a Child Rights and Protection Study Center in Rajiv Gandhi National Institute of Youth Development from this year itself. And also we are planning to introduce a 2-year master program on child rights and protection so that we can create more human resource for other educational institutions, which will be required in our country as per the new educational policy. So I fully agree with you. Parents imposing on students, mostly adolescent. So this issue requires again the counselor role in an educational institution. When you come across that parents are imposing their ideas, parents are threatening their children, parents are not careful about child growth and development, parents do not give the support to the student to clarify the confusion or any problem, we need to bring back those parents, call them in the school to sensitize them about their responsible role for child upbringing. Because some parents think that I admitted my child to school, my job is over. I think that is a wrong notion. As I admit my child to a school, a teacher is teaching, I have also certain responsibility to provide the support to my child. I also need to control my behavior, my lifestyle, so that a child does not experience bad things within the family. So it is a joint responsibility by all concerned. Now, somebody asked that why children are more egoist nowadays. It is because we fail to understand them. We do not listen to them. We are not open to their ideas. We do not encourage them. We do not appreciate them. We always place our high expectation before our child. That is why they become egoist. If I don't have an ego as a parent, if I maintain a low profile, if I am humble, if I lead a simple life, honest life, decent life, I'm sure my child is going to follow my lifestyle until there is a strong influence from external sources. So parents' lifestyle, behavior, outlook determine the behavior, outlook, lifestyle, expectation of a child. So it is very important to be very humble, to be very generous, to be very supportive, to spend more quality time with the children, and to give them a feel that you are there to give them a support. Then they will not have any anxiety. They will not become more dependent on peer group member. They will not become more vulnerable to get involved in high risk behavior. So home environment is very important. Parents' personality is very important. Parents should not be very short tempered. They should not abuse their child at all. They should understand, develop a very good friendship with the child. Then child will grow with a better understanding about life. No, again, I beg to differ with one question that if the NGO and retired person are to be are to do everything, then what is the government doing? Why can't policies be made? It is fine, but I strongly feel let us be very proactive. Government, any government, they're trying their level best. There are a lot of challenges before them. Within their means, as per their understanding, based on their suggestions and provisions of different policy programs, they are trying the level best. But child protection is everybody's responsibility. It is not only the job of the school teachers or a particular section of people. It is a collective responsibility to create a child-friendly environment. If NGOs are working, nothing is wrong to collaborate, to partnership, to have a partnership with NGOs to act as a very good facilitator for bringing very good environment in the society or in the school. There is no harm to engage a retired person for child welfare activities. There are a lot of retired people there look for an opportunity to spend their quality time. retired people are most resourceful because they have learned everything from their life, and they'll be very happy. They only require little recognition, little respect. You give them the highest respect, give them the highest honor, and definitely their contribution for a short period will be immensely beneficial for the students and others. They can impart value education to the students. That way, every school can think of inviting retired people from the neighboring community. That is why I strongly feel partnership with the community for running the school effectively for child growth and development is very essential. And NCC officers can act as a facilitator to develop the partnership. Because without society's support, a school alone cannot take the entire responsibility. They can do within the limited resources. But a child is not spending whole day in the school. After that, they're going back to the community. So community's involvement in child upbringing is very essential to create a healthy, prosperous, child-friendly society.
So I think, sir, with this, we will stop this session because we are running ahead of time.
Please.
So,
sir, please one question for me.
Yeah, please.
सर इसका आंसर आप प्लीज सर इसका आंसर प्लस आप हिंदी में दीजिएगा सर.
हाँ बोलिए. I'll try.
सर हम जैसे कह रहे हैं कि जो भीख मांग कर जो जीवन यापन करते हैं बच्चे छोटे छोटे रहते हैं 8-9 साल के, तो उनके जो माता पिता रहते हैं वो तो सशक्त नहीं रहते हैं सर, क्योंकि वो तो भीख ही मांगते हैं. बल्कि उनको जो बच्चे रहते हैं वो भीख मांगने को फिर एक पेड़ में एनजीओ इसमें कुछ नहीं करे, ना ही भारत में कोई ऐसा कानून इम्प्लीमेंट करा गया है इनके लिए कि इनका चुनाव सुनिश्चित करे और इनकी पहचान करे और इन्हें सशक्त बनाए और इन्हें मनरेगा से जोड़े. सर ऐसा क्यों? ये भी तो चाइल्ड का पर अत्याचार हो रहा है सर. इनके लिए कुछ कानून इम्प्लीमेंट होना चाहिए सर.
इसीलिए मैंने बोला आप द मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ सोशल जस्टिस एंड एम्पावरमेंट का जो वेबसाइट है ना, आप उसको विजिट कीजिए. उसमें बहुत सारे प्रोग्राम है. राजीव गांधी क्रैश इज देयर. वो राजीव गांधी क्रैश जो कॉन्सेप्ट जो प्रोग्राम है ना, वो उस पेरेंट्स के लिए जो पेरेंट काम करते हैं, मेहनत मजदूरी करते हैं, डेली वेज अर्नर हिसाब से काम करते हैं, उनको बच्चों को अच्छा शेल्टर में छोड़ने के लिए वो स्कीम है. बढ़िया स्कीम है. इस तरीके का बहुत सारी स्कीम है वो इम्प्लीमेंटेड किया है द मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ सोशल जस्टिस एंड एम्पावरमेंट. आप उस वेबसाइट को थोड़ा विजिट कीजिए ना, उसका नाम डाल दीजिए गूगल में, आपको मिल जाएगा पूरा इंफॉर्मेशन. तो वो जो स्कीम हर स्टेट में वो लागू हो रहा है. तो हम लोग को क्या करना है, वो एनसीसी ऑफिसर होने के नाते वो जो एनजीओ जो काम कर रहे हैं उसका साथ लिंक डेवलप कीजिए. आप उनको बोलिए उस बच्चे को उसका प्रोग्राम का अंदर लेने के लिए, और पेरेंट को भी बोलिए आपका बच्चे को आप उधर छोड़ सकते हैं.
सर मैं इससे जुड़ा हूँ सर. मैं कोई सर मतलब एनजीओ ऑफिसर नहीं हूँ सर. मैं एक आम जन हूँ और अब मैं आज आपके मतलब कार्यक्रम में सम्मिलित हुआ हूँ.
ठीक है वो तो ठीक है. तो बहुत सारे प्रोग्राम है गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया का, बहुत सारे प्रोग्राम ऑन मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ वुमेन एंड चाइल्ड डेवलपमेंट, मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ सोशल जस्टिस एम्पावरमेंट. वो वेबसाइट विजिट करेंगे आपको पता चल जाएगा. बहुत सारे प्रोग्राम है और डिसएडवांटेज पॉपुलेशन के रखने के लिए. ठीक है ना. तो हम लोग को उसका सही तरीका से उसका एडवांटेज लेना चाहिए. गवर्नमेंट जो इतना सारी स्कीम रन कर रहे हैं, इतना सारी फंड दे रहे हैं एनजीओ को, उसका साथ थोड़ा जोड़ के हम एक साथ मिल के उसको प्रॉब्लम को सॉल्व कर सकते हैं.
जी सर, हम यही चाहते हैं.
हाँ, वो हम लोग का भी ज्वाइन करना चाहिए. उस हमारा अपना अपना काम है, अपना अपना काम के बीच में तो थोड़ा टाइम तो हम लोग निकाल सकते हैं. वो टाइम दे के एनजीओ के साथ मिल के हम लोग उस जो चिल्ड्रन वो रहते नेग्लेक्टेड, घर में कोई देखने के लिए नहीं है, उसको उस प्रोग्राम का अंदर लेकर आ सकते हैं. ठीक है ना. बहुत सारी स्कीम है, अच्छा तरीके स्कीम है हमारे देश में.
ठीक है सर, धन्यवाद.
एंड ऑल्सो आपका जो लॉ है ना, एवरी स्टेट में है जुवेनाइल ऑब्जर्वेशन होम है. वो जो जुवेनाइल ऑब्जर्वेशन होम में भी आप उस बच्चे को डाल सकते हैं जब कोई जरूरत हो. उधर भी उस बच्चे के लिए वोकेशनल ट्रेनिंग प्रोग्राम भी होते हैं. उस प्रोग्राम के अंदर भी आप उस बच्चे को लेकर आ सकते हैं.
मतलब बच्चे नहीं है सर, माता पिता को भी सशक्तता प्रदान की जानी चाहिए ना सर, क्योंकि आने वाला बच्चा भी इसी दलदल में भटकता जाएगा सर. हमारा
इसीलिए एडोलेसेंट का ट्रेनिंग के लिए जुवेनाइल जस्टिस केयर एंड प्रोटेक्शन जो एक्ट है 2015, उसका अंदर ट्रेनिंग का अरेंजमेंट है फॉर एडोलेसेंट यूथ. ठीक है ना। एडोलेसेंट ये तो पोटेंशियल पेरेंट्स होगा, कुछ देर का बाद वो लोग शादी करेंगे, बच्चा होगा, तो उसका पहले उसका थोड़ा स्किल मिल जाए तो वो थोड़ा काम सीखेंगे तो उसका काम का हिसाब से वो पैसा कमा सकते हैं ना। तो इसीलिए मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ वुमेन एंड चाइल्ड डेवलपमेंट, मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ सोशल जस्टिस एंड एम्पावरमेंट एंड ऑल्सो मिनिस्ट्री रूरल डेवलपमेंट, बहुत सारी स्कीम है। आप उसको विजिट करेंगे आपको मालूम हो जाएगा, वो इंफॉर्मेशन आप शेयर कर सकते हैं और दूसरे आदमी के साथ, ठीक है ना। तो हम लोग को सोसाइटी में वी नीड टू बी वेरी सपोर्टिव, हम लोग को सपोर्ट देना चाहिए इंफॉर्मेशन शेयर करके, और जिस तरीके से हम लोग सपोर्ट कर सकते हैं दूसरा आदमी।
सर इसके लिए हमने एक इम्प्लीमेंट के लिए कुछ मतलब नियम भी बनाए हैं, अपने प्रोजेक्ट फाइल बनाई है, लेकिन ये बात हमारी सरकार तक नहीं जा रही है सर। इसलिए हम चाह रहे हैं कि अगर आप
नो, आप एनजीओ रजिस्टर किया है, 3 साल काम करना पड़ेगा। काम करने के बाद जो काम किया उसको थोड़ा सही तरीके से लिख कर आपको फाइल बनाना पड़ेगा, आपको रजिस्ट्रेशन करना पड़ेगा। सोसाइटी रजिस्ट्रेशन एक्ट के बाद आपको ऑडिटेड स्टेटमेंट बनाना पड़ेगा, जितना भी पैसा आपने इकट्ठा किया, बहुत सारे सोर्स से किस तरीके से खर्चा किया, ऑडिटेड स्टेटमेंट प्रोजेक्ट प्रपोजल लेकर आप अप्लाई कर सकते हैं। वेबसाइट में ऑनलाइन में अप्लाई कर सकते हैं, बहुत सारी स्कीम है।